There are 27 people signed up to testify. I would like to request that testimony be limited to 3 minutes. This is not an issue for the convenience of the commissioners or for the convenience of the county staff. This is so that your neighbor to your right and to your neighbor to the left can also testify, who also gave up their day and their time to be here. It's our goal here to hear from every one of you, so please kokua. Thank you.
My name is Barbara Schaefer. I live in Waimea, Kamuela, and today I'm representing the Board of Directors of Anaeho'omalu. Anaeho'omalu is a nonprofit trail advocacy group dedicated to preserving and protecting the ancient and historic trails of Hawaii, including their natural and cultural surroundings. The area under consideration today contains many sites of historic and cultural importance. As evidenced by the archaeological record and a simple walk through the area today, this place had and continues to have special significance and value to the people who live and visit here. We have quite a number of concerns, but I'd like to highlight 3 today. One is the zoning buffer of the area. The original V2A zoning provides a buffer between the more densely zoned resort center and the adjoining open space land. We consider this still very desirable and much more appropriate than the proposed V7.5. The proposed zoning and resulting development would have a significant negative impact on the historic sites and the viewscapes from these sites, the natural beauty and natural resources of the area. While we acknowledge the applicant's statement that their proposed rezoning is the least dense of the resort zonings, we still believe the current zoning is best. We recommend the zoning remain unchanged. Natural resources. Of concern is the impact further development would have on the water quality in and adjacent to the project area. The applicant seems to claim, because water studies done say it is not unusual that several water quality parameters do not meet the State Department of Health water quality standards, that this is all right. We disagree. And some of their solutions don't seem sufficient or practical. Just for example, directing excess water to landscaped areas where the ground would be more permeable and can thus absorb the additional water does not seem like a reasonable solution. Because the ground in this area is permeable, the water will still percolate into the ground and the nearby ocean. Parking considerations are another one of our areas of concern. If the rezoning and development are to proceed as described, the parking considerations are very inadequate. Parking from the Lava Lava Beach Club already overflows into the proposed development area. And if you would, please take a look at the photos that I provided today. These were taken on December 22nd of last year at approximately 6 in the afternoon. I walked the area and counted about 120 cars. This included the Lava Lava Beach parking, but did not include the public parking area. So this is without any more development there. And if you look at the pictures, you can see the palm trees that was pointed out in the other testimony surrounding the Ancholine Pond. And the second photo on the page shows the public parking in the distance relative to the overflow parking there. We worry that's...
Please summarize.
Yeah. We worry that the spillover to the nearby public parking area could adversely affect the public's ability to access the area. The response from the applicant to this concern still does not adequately address the problem. The solutions suggested seem very difficult and unlikely to be enacted or enforced. We urge the commission to do a walk through the area, and I noted in the newspaper the other day that you have that planned for your February meeting. We much appreciate that you're willing to do this. Thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Thank you. To clarify, there is no set site visit. That's part of the discussion today. Thank you.
Hello, I don't believe I was here to swear in if I need to.
Yeah. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth before the Planning Commission?
I do.
Thank you. Please state your name and area of residence.
Max Newberg, Waikoloa.
Thank you.
Just wanted to say thank you to the commissioners here allowing us to speak. My name is Max Newberg. I'm the Kona Field Representative for the Hawaii Regional Council of Carpenters. We're better known as the Carpenters Union. We are in full support of the amendments being requested by Waikoloa Land Company for their project at Anaeho'omalu Bay. We feel it's being demonstrated again here today by their flexibility and willingness to accommodate what will help make this even a more fitting project for the area. As carpenters, we represent 600 men and women here on the island of Hawaii and their families. Also, I believe Waikoloa Land Company being willing to offer livable wages, which is something becoming more and more difficult for our working families to achieve. We learn our trade through our state-recognized apprenticeship program, and hope that all of our men and women that are carpenters and drywall are able to apply their craft and help build their communities and make a livable wage so they're able to raise their families and be a part of this community. We also enjoy recreation. This is a very busy place, home to not only the bay, where everybody wants to enjoy the beach, also the paddle team, and again, the restaurant as well. We feel what they are reducing in their density is another show of them being able to find a proper fit and place for the location and the enjoyment. And I believe this bit of a project, although will provide construction jobs, will also provide jobs for those that will remain and maintain this project after completion. And with no shame or humor involved, we've all been in line after a full working day with somebody in a high-vis shirt. And it's not always the most enjoyable smell that you get after a hard working day as a tradesperson. And so what we try to do is teach our members to be able to work with efficiency, work hard and diligently, not only learning their craft and passing it down to future generations, but being able to support responsible development, which we feel this is. Thank you.
Mahalo.
Aloha. My name is Kaala Plunkett. I live in Pu'ukapu, which is part of Waimea Kalana, a traditional land designation that runs from the top of South Kohala down to the coastline. My background is in anthropology, archaeology, and my current studies is specifically on the resource distribution and planning, heritage, preservation, restoration, according to landscapes. So I submitted a letter, and I believe it's Exhibit 43, and I would just appreciate if you guys took the time to read it. And I'm just going to build off of this letter. I do believe that the expanded development is going to affect all of the resources everybody's been talking about, the anchoring ponds, the fish ponds. But also what I want to talk to, expanding on this, is the sense of place. I use the trails and the beach 3 to 4 times a week. And the question about the trails, one thing you got to realize is that the trails are not just walkways of the ancestors, they also connected resources. Although it's not in this project area, there's a huge quarry site to the south. And these trails come from there, and the question is, why do they end? They end in the vicinity of the water, the pond. If you look along those trails, there's excavation sites. There's a huge excavation site, whether they're excavating, creating these pockets in the lava field for getting abrading material, building material, or searching for more water. That's the essence of this cultural landscape. And when you're coming from the south, heading into Anaeho'omalu and Waikoloa, if we just build, you lose that aspect. Right now, that portion of land is a transition point from natural, cultural, slowly into the resort full-on mode. If we build right there, we lose that transition, we lose the sense of place. And also, the natural resources, that area is part of the Northwest Mauna Loa aquifer system, and everything under it, all the waterways are connected. So it's not just about the initial construction, but it's the ongoing maintenance of the place. I found a few more ponds that is not on the report. And the Ankia line ponds, if you find opaiula in one pond that is not connected on the surface, but they both have opaiula, that's just common sense that they're connected. And ongoing development, maintenance, and increased human presence is going to affect these ponds, as well as the fish ponds to the north and the bay. And I'm going to end with this, more like a story. So in my research, from the 60s on, the community has become more and more detached from the coastline. From Mauna Kea Beach Resort, and you come all the way down the coast, and now we're at the last portion of South Kohala. The last portion, the closest access point to trails and the beach that I know of, because I access the trails every week. And what I see, no matter what the general plan says, I believe we're at a turning point. I believe planning and proper resource management, cultural resource management is at a turning point. And I just want to read this from the county's water plan. It says, the full build-out of the land use pattern allocation guide demands nearly 4 times the amount of water than full build-out of zoning, largely to the greater proportion of urban area in Newberg. Anyway, what this is basically saying is that the proposed urban expansion for the coastline is 4 times greater, the estimated water use is 4 times greater than the aquifers can put out. So when is the turning point? I believe this is the turning point. When are we going to start to have our planning and our permitting match what our resources can provide, both cultural and natural? Thank you.
Mahalo.
Aloha, my name is Thomas Murray. I reside in Kealakekua, Mauka. I'm a retired carpenter, and I just wanted to say from my past, growing up in Hawaii, 1955, came over from Oahu, but the construction industry has supported myself and my family with benefits and decent wages where I can live over here. You know, I can afford to live here. So I am going to ask for support for this project because a lot of the work that I had was all out in this area, Waikoloa land development. Hotels, condominiums, kept me employed for 30 years. So, and I utilize the access to these facilities. I've been out to eat, enjoy the beach and whatnot. I was denied access to Waikoloa when I beach Anaeho'omalu Bay in Poison Cascade first developed the road down there, where I drove down and they told me to turn around and go back. It was private property. The resorts have opened up access to the general public, and I appreciate that. So I just ask for your support in granting the amendments for quality construction. Usually these projects have all been nice quality construction out there in that area. Thank you.
Mahalo.
Aloha, my name is Mary Wills. I live in Waikoloa. I strongly recommend that the Leeward Planning Commission deny the request to amend SMA 412, and here are my concerns. I have concerns, and I paid a lot of attention to what was claimed by the developers. There is no disability access. Please put up the screen. If you are handicapped and you want to get to the beach now, there's the public parking. There is the small cul-de-sac for 2 disabled parking stalls. And then you have to go down a steep ramp to get to the beach. I don't see a handicapped wheelchair, the ones with the big balloon wheels. So as the population in Hawaii is getting older, there's no accommodations for people who have handicapped. The other main concern I have is for parking. In the initial plan, before the pool was moved and 4 units were taken away, there are 55 stalls. That's for people. Where do the employees park? Who is going to be staffing the administration and all of the other populace that they need just to run the resort? There's no parking for them. They will park in the land adjacent. Each time more people park in the land adjacent, older people like me who would like to walk to the beach have a longer trek to go, and I'm physically able. I don't mind, I walk. My other concerns are the proposed expansion cannot survive without the Lava Lava Beach Club 2.1. Look at where they have their loading dock. The loading dock is available on the Lava Lava Beach Club driveway, and then there's the loading and support. The way they have their cafe, who is going to go to that cafe? More than just the people who live there, unless we, the regular people, will be denied. There's no place for them to park. So the claims that we have adequate parking is not true. There's no substantial, the numbers that are for parking stalls in Lava Lava and for this proposed resort, plus their employees, you're in the adjacent parking lot in the land next door. It's owned by the same people. What is to say that they will deny that parking lot? Oh, we will further expand, but that's okay. We will give 44 parking stalls somewhere. So that's my concern about parking. The other words that are used in this development are wet bars in each of these units. Is that just a sidestep? So when you have the wet bar, we would like to further amend that all of these units that have wet bars be allowed to have full kitchens, therefore they will be permanent residents and blah, 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 blah. Is it just another sidestep using that kind of language to allow more expansion? And instead of having wet bars, full kitchen, again, what can our resources provide? Who will what do we do with the sewage, the water demands, and the power demands on our grid? We have frequent blackouts, as you know, of power. Is there going to be any type of limit to what we can possibly provide for further expansion? I'm speaking as a person. There are also other animals that use the shore. We have the turtles. Don't worry, we will take big plastic fencing, and anytime there's the turtle will be surrounded by fencing. If I were a turtle on the beach and someone came at plastic fencing, okay, it's time for me to leave now, and the turtles will vacate. What of the sand crabs? What of the herons? What of the seasonal birds that come to be on Hawaii? Who will stand up for them to say, there's too much population density, we need to limit? I wholeheartedly agree that we do need a transition from this is open, this is resort. Why must we develop to that very end? Why cannot we have a transition period? For those various reasons, again, I strongly recommend that you please deny the request to amend SMA 412 and allow so much dense development on that particular land, which cannot stand by itself. It must rely on that other parcel. It should be treated as one parcel. Thank you for your consideration. Aloha.
Aloha, thank you. You all may be seated. Thank you. David Harlow, Francis Arquet, Francois, Maureen Hamatake, Joe Cohen, Julia Allos, and Richard Brock.
Aloha mai kako. My name's Rick Amerkin. I'm the archaeologist for Alakaʻakai National Historic Trail. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you very much for allowing Alakaʻakai to provide comments regarding Waikoloa, BC. The presentation earlier this morning by the applicant was well received, I think, for some of the aspects of removal of the pool and also the event lawn and facility. That being said, that broader landscape is still one of the things that we have been asking for preservation of since the beginning, since we've been involved in commenting on this project. So the project area, although small, is home to important cultural and natural resources, including 14 archaeological sites comprised of over 300 features. Over 230 individual petroglyphs are on this property. Habitation complex including caves, anchialine pools, threatened and endangered species including endangered orange-black damselfly and the threatened green sea turtle, and of course trails. Anaeho'omalu has been a major destination for Native Hawaiians for well over 800 years. As one of the major coastal hubs or villages in West Hawaii, trails enter this location from many directions, and I mean this particular parcel directed basically that main anchialine pool on the property. At least 4 major branches of prehistoric trails enter the subject parcel from the south, and as mentioned before, they connect to the Kiholopūʻako Trail and the Alaloa. These trails, and one in particular, was used all the way through historic times, and it's evidenced by deep grooving as well as horseshoes along the trail itself. These trails have been in use for well over 500, I would say over 1,000 years. The Archaeological Preservation Plan and Project SMA heavily emphasize the preservation of those three trails and of the intensive trail network within the project area. There is still concern for all of these other trails because of the recently damaged trail, the one of the 3 that was intended to be preserved. Use of heavy equipment in this fragile cultural landscape will place the remaining trails and associated buffers in jeopardy. And I'm pointing more toward by the area where the cave site is, and that stretch of still intact A'a lava on the southern part of the property in the A'a flow. While a 15-foot buffer is slightly better than a 10-foot buffer, the Alakaʻakai believes the entire trail network and associated sites, including the undisturbed lava in between, make up a unique, heavily modified cultural landscape worthy of preservation as a whole. Regarding the coastal lateral trail, there's still some need for work with the landowner and applicant. Currently, the signs that direct folks laterally along the coastline are located makai of the current certified shoreline, directing people to places where now during high tide they're walking in water. They're it's not the most inviting scenario at the time. I do appreciate that the landowner is willing to work with opening up that to a broader area for pedestrians to walk through. In terms of natural resources, the ancholine pools, of course, are extremely important on this, and they also speak to groundwater. They also speak to the low elevation of the area. Again, there's threatened and endangered species on the property. There are also 2 other endangered species that have been identified nearby, and this is the anthracene yellow-faced bee as well as the Hawaiian hoary bat. I myself have seen that Hawaiian hoary bat in the daytime in the lava field in Kiholo State Park. Recent king tides kind of give us an idea of how our shorelines are going to do, as well as ancholine ponds. On May 25th of last year, king tides came through, and the main ancholine pond, as you can see in blue up there, basically that lower broader area was saturated with water, and we have photos, I believe, in our testimony or our written comments that are in your packet. That being said, that 10-foot and even the 30-foot buffer in some places, the 10-foot at least, is going to have, you're going to have troubles with that, at least on the Lava Lava Beach Club side, because already it's pretty close. So 30 feet is, I think there's already parking areas in that spot.
Could you summarize, please?
Certainly. I'll summarize just by talking about the visual impacts. Again, this is an incredible landscape. You can clearly see the project now from Queen Kaumanu Highway. I believe that the site visit will hopefully illustrate what the impact of 2-story buildings to that area of natural beauty as called out in the county general plan. So thank you so much for your time. Alaka'akai recommends the Leeward Planning Commission deny the proposed subdivision and rezone, and Alaka'akai requests that the applicant consider not subdividing and maintaining the current zoning. Thank you.
Aloha, my name is Francois Au. I am a guest here in the Kingdom of Hawaii and a full-time resident of Waikoloa Beach Resort since 2005. Why am I here today? Why are all of us here today? It's a very easy decision, not a hard one. On one hand, we have a historic Hawaiian site, a bay that belongs to the community, and a beautiful and delicate ecosystem that is home to countless species, including protected turtles, a place that we want to preserve for all. And by the way, if anyone here in this room truly believes that construction would stop because a sea turtle comes to rest on the beach, show of hand, I didn't think so. On the other hand, we have greed. No, I take that back. Greed is what is already shamelessly built there. This is way beyond greed. We have a corporation that treats nature like a commodity and that is willing to sacrifice a historical preserve to make more money than they can ever spend. We have a Lava Lava Beach Club that exhibits the worst colonial attitude as if they own the entire bay. If you just take a look at their own map, look where the red line is to the left. It looks like they own the entire shoreline, including the ocean, and that's their own red line. And the parking issue is a daily issue, not a special event one. It happens every day. I know because I bicycle there every evening, and cars that want to go to Lava Lava Beach Club have no place, and they go to the public beach parking. But you do not have to take my word for it. All you have to do is read the exact words that the Waikoloa Land Company posted right at the entrance of the bay. Right there, that's their own words. I have the pictures if you need, but I'm going to quote them. The company president, Ronald Bodecker, was a man of extraordinary vision. In a rapidly changing Hawaii, he saw Waikoloa as a sanctuary for both man and nature. To that end, he conceived a resort that would abide in harmony with its environment, fulfill the historical destiny of the area as a place of culture, a playground fit for royalty, and a special place of the spirit. Waikoloa Beach Resort was designed as a master plan resort community where all development conformed to the contours of the land itself rather than imposing man's ambition on nature. Respect for the past, a present committed to the enrichment of life, and a sense of responsibility to future generations were integral to the design. The land and sea, the past and its stories are all facets of a climate of natural enrichments guests discover at the resort. Now, as always, the human spirit is energized by open space, a continuum where creation has been carefully shepherded and is entrusted to the future. End of quote. So as you can obviously see, that permit goes against the very own philosophy proclaimed by the Waikoloa Beach Resort. And the only permit that should be discussed is not one that builds more and destroys the bay further. It is a permit that removes entirely the Lavala Beach Club from the preserved historical sacred site on which it should have never been authorized to be built in the first place. Mahalo.
Aloha, good afternoon. My name is Julia Alos, and I live in Waikoloa. Can everybody hear me? I've been visiting Waikoloa, Anaeho'omalu Bay, for 27 years since I've moved here, and I find it a very historical and historically significant and cultural rich location that has been enjoyed by many locals and visitors alike. Since the Fukushima tsunami drastically changed the landscape in the beach of that area, I see a 50% loss of sand. There's no more shade because all the palm trees are now swept away and there's little stubs, few stubs, there's hardly any more left on the shoreline. And I feel that the Army Corps of Engineers put hardened sand in the area of the beach where we only have 50%, and it's really made the sand very hard. And I feel that this area has been enjoyed for a century by Hawaiians as their home, by Parker Ranch employees and their family, Native Hawaiian fishermen practicing what their forefathers taught them to sustain their culture of feeding their families, where their ancestors worked hard to build this ancient pond and maintain them to feed the royalty. Evidenced by documentation and as testament by the witness of the offering of makahiki that continues today on this site. Just to name a few things, I feel it is these are important issues and they're legally binding. They need to ensure the constitutionality guaranteed Native Hawaiians gathering and access rights that are protected, as well as the fragile and natural cultural resources, and I don't think buffers cut it. It must be protected in a context that has meaning and to protect the culture and practices that are relevant to this practice. I also think that looking through the general plan, there's a retreat resort area. Now, with an SMA coming out for you to get this rezoned, I feel that in the general plan it says retreat resort area. A retreat resort area is generally an area that provides the user with rest, quiet, isolation, environmental experience. Maximum visitor units, 50, maximum visitor units, 50. Resort acreage, 15 acres minimum. They want to do 44 units in half of the 15 acres that the county's general plan is saying for a resort unit, 50-unit property. So I think it's pretty much a non-starter to, even though I know they're in the Waikoloa node, but we're here discussing what they're trying to revise on their SMA and get subdivided, or sub-zoned, and I don't feel that's fair. I also feel that these intentions were probably from the inception. As you look at the plot over here and you see that there's just that little small development, and I feel that there was possibly artful deceit, and they're bringing this back up again now to rezone and get more development here. Why is that? I don't feel that's really fair. And that's all I have to say. I hope that this does not go through and it remains as the size it is. Aloha.
Thank you.
Aloha. My name's Joel Cohen. I'm a resident of Waimea. I am a former member of the South Kohala Community Development Plan Action Committee. I'm not a scientist, so I'm not going to talk about ecological issues. And I'm a 17-year, my wife and I are now 17-year residents of our island, and we certainly are attached to the culture, but I'm not in a position to be speaking about cultural issues either. But I strongly believe common sense comes into play here. That the climate is changing ever so fast. So what we think of at the present, 2 years from now, 4 years from now, 20 years from now, long after I'm gone, for sure, things are changing, and they're changing at a more rapid pace. So what we see in a plan today is going to be different. And we have to adapt to it. There are many properties that will be underwater that are already existing. So specifically, I listened to a presentation from the developer a year or so ago, and I made a point that 60 feet from the shoreline on a sunny day is not adequate. And I made a suggestion at that time that they think about it. In fact, the response was, Mr. Cohen, that's a good point. We really need to think about that a little bit more. And I'm disappointed to see after a year's time that it hasn't been changed. I think about the Kona Village Resort. Beautiful. Very much something that I hope will happen in a sensible way, protective way, and return to it. And I think about, and I just want to leave it just as two words, 3 words actually, long-term planning. Something we sometimes lose sight of. Long-term planning. So what's going to be happening 20 years from now, and how do we prevent catastrophe, which is inevitably going to happen? Mahalo.